Hey guys, hope your morning is going good so far. So I know this is going to be a little bit different today, but this way we won't get behind in our lessons and we'll be able to kind of stay caught up and go through it. So here we go. So this lesson is called Writing Equations from Tables and Graphing. So if we look at that learning target, we talked about yesterday that, right, there's a lot to this. We have the dependent right there. We have independent graphs, tables, and relating them all back to an equation. So yesterday we did the tables. Today we're going to continue with tables, but we're going to add this extra component with graphs. Okay, so we did a little bit with graphing back in number systems when we talked about positive and negative numbers, but we'll review those things. So, okay, so yesterday we did the first part of this, right? We completed a table. They gave us our equation right here, okay? And we plugged in all of our x's, right? And then we got what y was. So we're going to start off with that today. So y equals x plus 5. And our first x is a 2. So we plug it in. Y equals 2 plus, 5. 2 plus 5 is 7. So when we put a 2 into our machine, we get out a 7. Okay, we're going to do the next one. Y equals x plus 5. This time we put in a 3. So y equals 3 plus 5. 3 plus 5 we know is 8. Okay, I want you to pause the video. And I want you to complete the chart for 6, 8, and 10. When everybody looks like they are done with that, just leave them on your whiteboards and press play, and then we will continue. Okay, hopefully you have figured that out just really quickly. When we plug it in, right, for 6, you should have got an 11. When you plug in an 8, you get a 13. And when you plugged in a 10, you should have got a 15. Okay, so that was what we did yesterday. Now, today we're going to take it to the next step. So we know when we talk about ordered pairs right here, we know ordered pairs. We talk about we have an x and a y in an ordered pair. So that's convenient because right here we have an x and a y. So to turn it to an ordered pair, we simply take our x, which is 2, our y is 7, and we turn it into an ordered pair. Okay, so in this case, our x is 3, our y is 8. We now have an ordered pair. Okay, the same things happen here. 6, 11, 8, 13, 10, 15. Now, your sub should have handed out a paper that has graphs that look like this. And it's like front and back pages of them. So this way, when we work through these today, you won't have to draw a graph on your whiteboard. You'll do this work, okay, on your whiteboard, and then you'll go to that other paper to graph. So when we graph ordered pairs, right, we know the first one is the x, the second one is the y. So in this case, right, our x tells us in our 2, 7 right here to go over 2, up 7, and we're going to put a dot. Okay, the next one is over 3, up 8. We're going to put a dot. Now, if we go over 6 and up 11, 11 goes off my graph, and that's okay. We're just going to kind of estimate where it would be. 8, 13 goes way off my graph. Let's see, 8, 13, and 10, 15. Now, if you can't place those last two on your graph, that's okay. Okay, now, the last thing we do is we make a straight line, and we put arrows because x could be a lot of other things, right? X's could be smaller, even into the negatives, and x's could be bigger, right, than 10, because x can be anything in this chart. So that's why we put the 2 arrows at the end, because it shows that it keeps going. Now, something that we'll talk about here for a minute. Okay, these equations, right, the equations that we just made, so this one right here, y equals x plus 5. If you see that when I plug them in, it makes a straight line. So these type of equations are called linear equations. That means linear, right? The base of linear is line. So Every equation today, once we graph it, will make a straight line. If it doesn't, we did something wrong in calculating the chart. Okay, so linear equations create that straight line. So that's just kind of another way that we can help check. Okay, all right, go ahead and erase your whiteboards and let's move on to the next problem. Okay, so what I want you to do, okay, I want you to draw this chart. So if you guys want to pause the video for a minute, everybody get that chart drawn, okay, get the numbers put in, and then go ahead and press play and we will go from there. Okay, now that everybody has drawn that chart, the directions for this one say create an equation. So if you remember on our last one, right, they gave us the equation. This one, they give us our x's and our y's, and we have to create the equation. So the first thing we want to check, if you remember yesterday, is for a pattern. So we're going from our x to our y, and our x to our y, right? And we want to say, can we find a pattern? So I'm going to give you just a minute to think. And hopefully you say, I see a pattern, right? So if I take 6 and I need to get it to 3, oh, that's half. Is 5 divided by 2, 2.5? Yep, that's half. Is 7 divided by 2, 3.5? Yeah. So my equation follows a pattern. So if it follows a pattern, I write my equation. So I have y equals, and what did I do to every x? I divided it by 2. So there's my equation. That's the first directions. Create an equation. Now, we're going to turn, and you're going to do this with me. We're going to turn our x's and our y's into ordered pairs. So the first one, right, we draw our parentheses. Our x is 5. Our y is 2.5. Our x is 6. Our y is 3. Our x is 7. Our y is 3.5. Now this one, it tells us our x is 12. So we're going to go over here. Y equals x is 12 divided by 2 gives me 6. Okay, so we've created an equation, right? We have that right here. We've filled in the missing box. Now we have the last step. We're going to graph. So take your piece of paper that has all your graphs, choose one of them, and we are going to graph it. So the first one, right? 5, 2.5. So the x tells me right here to go over 5. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to go up 2, and it says a half. So I'm going to try to put that dot right there in the middle. Okay, the next one says go over 6 and up 3. So over 6, up 3 is going to be right there. Okay, over 7, up 3.5. Make sure you're doing this with me. And now, I'm not going to graph the last one because over 12 is off my graph, okay? But then if I create my straight line from this, put my lines, okay, it'll eventually run into that. So 11, 12, and I go up to 6 would be about here. And we can tell that straight line, right? So now we get to check. Did I form a straight line when I graphed those? Yes. Right? That means it's in a linear equation like we talked about before. So that tells me that my numbers right here are correct because it forms a straight line. Now, if you go to graph it, let's say you had a point clear up here. Well, if I connected those points, that's not a straight line. So then I'd have to go back and say, I did something wrong in my chart here. Okay, but if they form a straight line, then we're good. So this would be worth 3 different points if it was being graded. 1 point for the equation, 1 point for filling in the missing number here, and then 1 point for having our graph. All right, guys, let's try another one. So go ahead and pause the video. Okay, I want you to get your table drawn. Okay, so our first directions again, create an equation. Okay, so that's our first thing we're going to do. So when we create an equation, we go to our chart. Okay, and we again remember the easiest way is to look for a pattern. So from 2 to 1, 3 to 2, 7 to 6. Write down on your whiteboards, what is your pattern? How do I go from each one of those? Hopefully you said, oh, I subtract 1. I subtract 1. I subtract 1. Okay, so we write our equation. We always start with a y equals, right? Because we need an equals for it to be an equation. And we have x. And what did we do to every one of these x's right here? We subtracted 1. So check. We created an equation. Okay, the next thing, now they already gave me, right, 3 of them, but I got to fill in my missing. So I'm going to take my equation and I'm going to now plug in y equals 11 minus 1. 11 minus 1 is 10. So my missing number is 10. So I did my second part. Check. Okay, now I want you to pause the video and I want you to now fill in your chart, turn all of those x's and y's into ordered pairs. Okay, when everyone has got that, go ahead and press play again and we'll go through the next step. Okay, so hopefully everybody has done that. So let's just quickly write x is 2, y is 1, x is 3, y is 2, x is 7, y is 6, x is 11, y is 10. Okay, now we're going to get to that last part, graph. Okay, so x is 2. We're going to go over 2. So 1, 2, up 1, and we're going to put a dot. So, sorry, I didn't say this. Make sure on your piece of paper, you're doing that with me. So I want you to press pause again on the video, and I want each of you to finish graphing these 4 ordered pairs. Okay, after you've done that, go ahead and press play. Okay, so let's continue. We did 2, 1 already. Our next one is 3, 2. So make sure that matches what you have. Over 7, up 6. And over 11. Now 11's off my chart, but I can guess that 11's about there. And 10, right, is right there. So next step, because it's a linear equation, we want to connect that line, draw arrows, because x could keep going and x can go lower. And does it create a straight line? Yes, it does. So we got 3 points, right? Here's an answer. Here's an answer. And this graph is an answer. So hopefully that's what your guys' graph looks like. Okay, let's look at the next one. Now this one says graph the equation y equals x plus 5. So it says when a table is not given to help you graph the equation, you must create your own table by replacing x with any numbers and plugging it in. You need at least 3 pairs of numbers. Now, if you look, so they're saying, what if they just gave me this and they didn't give me the table? Well, I have to come up with a table. So that's what's shown right here, right? So easy ones to choose just simple numbers, right? We talk about that. Don't choose x is 20. Well, 20 is not going to fit on my chart. Just choose easy numbers. So in this case, they chose a 0. I plug a 0 in right here, right? Plus 5. 0 plus 5 is 5. So my ordered pair is 0, 5. Plug in a 1. Okay, 1 plus 5 is 6. And you can see what happens here. And then you can graph it. Okay, so we're going to try some that are like that. Okay. Oh, not yet. We will eventually try. Let's go through this one. Okay, so this one says create an equation, fill in the missing, and then graph. So I'm going to have you guys pause, draw that chart, try to come up with an equation. Now, this one may not follow a pattern, so be careful. Okay, but come up with an equation. So a y equals, remember yesterday, blank x plus or minus blank. Okay, once you come up with your equation, figure out your missing. Okay, and then create your ordered pairs. Okay. And then before you graph it, go ahead and once everybody got those steps done, press play and I'll go through it and you can kind of check your work and then we'll graph. Okay. So press play when everyone has their table all filled out with the ordered pairs and you've figured out the equation. If you're struggling to figure out the equation right here, okay, work with your neighbor. Okay, work together. Figure out how you get the blanks that you need right here and right here. Okay, so pause it and press play when you guys are ready. Okay, hopefully you have figured out, but let's go through the steps. So because it doesn't follow a pattern, right, from x to y, there wasn't anything that worked. So that's when we had to do y equals blank x plus or minus blank. So let's work on our first blank right here. Okay, if you remember, right, hopefully this came back to you from yesterday, we find where my x's count by 1. Well, 5 to 6, that counts by 1. So I drop down and I say, what's between 0 and 2? And I know that is 2. Okay, then I plug in one of my x's, so I'm just going to use 5. 2 times 5 is 10. But it says I don't want a 10 when I plug in a 5. I want a 0. So what do I do to 10 to get 0? Well, I subtract 10. Now I'm going to check that because right now y equals 2x minus 10. I haven't really seen any in the past that look like that, so I want to check it to make sure it's right. So I'm going to plug in my next number, which is my next x, which is 6. So 2 times 6 minus 10. 2 times 6 is 12 minus 10. That is 2. So when I plugged in a 6, I got that 2 that I wanted. So that tells me step 1 done. My equation, y equals 2x minus 10. Now I plug in a missing. So y equals 2x minus 10. And again, you're checking with what you have done. 2 times 15 minus 10. 2 times 15 is 30. Minus 10 is 20. So y is 20. So my missing number is 20. Now, turning it into ordered pairs is easy. I just take my x and my y. My x and my y. My x, y, x, y. Okay, so everybody right now has done 3 steps. You did your equation, you found your missing, and you turned them all into ordered pairs. Last step right here says to graph them. So go ahead and pause the video. Graph the ones that will fit. So use your piece of paper. Graph the ones that will fit on one of your graphs. When you've got them graphed, press play and we'll go through it. Okay, check your graph with me. So the first ordered pair over 5 up 0. So that right there stays on my x-axis. The next one, over 6 up 2. Over 9 up 8. I'm sorry, mine's really small and blurry, but I believe that is 8 right there. Now, over 15 up 20, I'm not graphing that. Okay, because it goes clear off my graph. I just need 3 points to be able to create my line. Okay, I create my straight line. I draw my arrows. And again, did it form a straight line? Yes, as straight as I can draw it. Okay, so again, I'm done. I got my equation. I filled in my missing. And I've got a graph done. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, this one, it gave me the equation. Okay, so y equals x minus 2. So I want you guys to draw this chart right here. Okay, and I want you to plug in all your x's. So you should have, right, if you want to like split your whiteboards into 4, you've got 4 pieces of work that are going to give you your y's. Okay, then I want you to take your y's and turn them to ordered pairs and graph it. When you guys, so pause it for a minute. When you guys have completed those steps, go ahead and press play and we'll go through it and you can check your work with mine. All right, guys, so let's go through Okay, I'm going to kind of erase those things so I have some room. So let's go through. So the first one, y equals x minus 2. Now, I know that some of you can do this mental math. You can plug in a 2, and 2 minus 2 is 0. I get that. But again, remember, we're learning the process, not learning an answer. Okay? Okay, the next one, y equals x minus 2. This time, x is 3. 3 minus 2, oops, sorry, it's cutting off, is 1. So this is a 1. Okay, I'm going to plug in my next one. Y equals x minus 2, and x is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. Plug in a 2. Last one, y equals x minus 2. X is 5. 5 minus 2 is 3. Y equals 3. Okay, then you turn them into ordered pairs. 2, 0. 3, 1. 4, 2. 5, 3. Okay, now check your graphs. So over 2 up 0. So again, that one stays on the x-axis. Over 3 up 1. Over 4 up 2. Over 5 up 3. Create that straight line. Now, here's something that you may be asked. They may ask a follow-up question that says, well, what if x is 7? Now, I can plug a 7 in here. 7 minus 2 is 5. I know that if x is 7, y is 5. But if they don't give me the equation, I can also do it. Because if I go over to my graph, everyone watch my graph, and I find x is 7, I go up until I meet my graph, and I met it right there. So y is 5. Okay, so if they just give you a graph, which they're not going to today, but they will in the future. If they give you your graph, you can figure out all these different x's, right? If I keep going and my line gets drawn right, if x is 9, right down here, I go up till I meet the line. Oh, right there, I go over. Oh, if x is 9, y is 7. Okay, so just kind of something that to show you that works from there. Okay, so this problem is one like we talked about earlier. So if you look at the table, it doesn't give you any x's. So take a minute and draw that table on your whiteboard. Okay, so in our table, right, it gives us 4 spaces. The easiest thing to do is, like we said earlier, a 0, a 1, a 2, and a 3. Because truly, like we talked about before, x could be anything, but we might as well keep it easy and simple. So we're going to plug those in, right? So we have our equation, y equals x plus 3.5. So in this case, it says x is 0 plus 3.5. Well, 0 plus 3.5 is 3.5. Okay, and when we do another one, y equals x is now 1 plus 3.5. Well, 1 plus 3.5 is 4.5. Okay, we plug in a 2. Y equals 2 plus 3.5. Well, 2 plus 3 is 5, so 5.5. And we plug in a 3. Y equals now 3 plus 3.5. Well, 3 plus 3 is 6. 6.5. So when we're doing this, now we just turn them to ordered pairs. So take a minute and turn those 4 into ordered pairs. Okay, so your first one, you should have had 0, 3.5. The next one, the x is 1, y is 4.5, x is 2, y is 5.5. When x is 3, y is 6.5. Okay, now go over to one of your graphs on your piece of paper. Okay, and pause the video, get it graphed, and then let's compare. Okay, so on this one, right? X is 0, y is 3.5. So over 0 and then up 3.5. So that stays on the y-axis. The next one over 1, up 4.5. The next one over 2, up 5.5. And over 3, up 6.5. Okay, oops, sorry, that one's a little off. Then we draw our lines. Okay, and again, they better make a straight line because we remember that these are linear equations. Okay. All right, this one, I want you to pause, create your table on your whiteboard, get everything filled out, get your ordered pairs. Then I want you to graph it on your piece of paper. When everybody is done, press play and we'll go over it. Okay, I hope you guys were able to figure out this one. So we plug it in. Y equals 2x, right, is our equation. In this case, our first one, x is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. So my ordered pair should have been 0, 0. Okay, y equals 2x again. This time we're plugging in a 1. 2 times 1 is 2. So ordered pair 1, 2. Okay, y equals 2x. 2x this time is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So 2, 4. Y equals 2x. 2 times 3 is 6. So 3, 6. Okay, there's your ordered pairs. Now you should have graphed it over 0, up 0. So that number right there is at 0, 0, which remember that's our origin. Over 1, up 2. Over 2, up 4. Over 3, up 6. Connect my dots. Forms a straight line. Okay, go ahead and pause the video. Get your chart drawn on your whiteboard. Figure out your y's. Turn them into ordered pairs. Graph it. When everybody's ready to check, go ahead and press play. Okay, guys, let's go over this one. So this time our equation is y equals 3x plus 1. So same process. So y equals 3x plus 1. You put in a 0. 3 times 0 plus 1. Well, 3 times 0, order of operations, right? Multiplies before add. 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. Okay, y equals 3x plus 1. This time, 3 times 1 plus 1. Well, 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Y equals 3x plus 1. 3 times 2 plus 1. 3 times 2 is 6. Plus 1 is, plus 1 is 7. Let's see the last one over here. Y equals 3x plus 1. 3 times x is 3. Plus 1. 3 times 3 is 9. Plus 1 gets me 10. Okay, then check your ordered pairs. First one is 0, 1. 1, 4. And again, make sure you have the parentheses and the comma. Shows it's an ordered pair. 3, 10. Okay, check your graph with me. Over 0, up 1. Over 1, up 4. Over 2, up 7. Over 3, up 10. Connect all those lines. Oops. Connect, I'm sorry. Struggling writing with this. And we have now filled out our table for that equation and graphed it. Okay, next one. Now, it doesn't give us our x's. So hopefully you remember, right? Now, does that matter what I use? No, but it's best to just use 0, 1, 2, 3. So go ahead and use those for your x's. Pause the video, fill out your chart, come up with your ordered pairs, graph them, and then when everybody is ready, press play, and we will go over them. All right, so here we go. We use, right, y equals x plus 2.5 we put in a 0. 0 plus 2.5 we know is 2.5. Okay, we plug in now a 1. 1 plus 2.5 is 3.5. Plug in a 2. 2 plus 2.5 is 4.5. Plug in a 3. 3 plus 2.5 is 5.5. Okay, then you turned them into ordered pairs. We got our parentheses. Okay, 0, 2.5, 1, 3.5, 2, 4.5, and 3, 5.5. Okay, now I have my ordered pairs. I graph them. So over 0, up 2.5. Over 1, up 3.5. Oops, sorry. Over 2, up 4.5. Over 3, up 5.5. Create my straight line for my linear equation. All right, erase your whiteboards. Let's go to our last one. Okay, so same thing. Okay, we create our own. Now, here's the deal with this one. If I use 0, 1, 2, 3, let's plug that in and see what's going to happen. So here's y equals 3. If I say x is 0, 3 times 0 minus 5. Well, 3 times 0 is 0. Minus 5 is going to get me a negative. If I look at my graph right here, I don't have anything for negative. So I probably don't want to plug 0 in for x. Now, if I plug 1 in, 3 times 1 is 3 minus 5. That still gives me negative. If I plug a 2 in, 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus 5. Ooh, so I'm going to choose. So do this. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Actually, let me clear that. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so pause the video. Take a minute and figure out what your y's are, right? Plug each of those x's in, turn them into ordered pairs, and graph it. When everybody's ready, press play. Okay, so we plugged a 2 in. 3 times 2 minus 5. 3 times 2 is 6. Minus 5, y was 1, which gives me an ordered pair of 2, 1. Okay, y equals 3x minus 5 again. This time x is 3. 3 times 3 minus 5. 3 times 3 is 9. Minus 5 is 4. Ordered pair 3, 4. Okay, y equals 3x minus 5. 3 times x is now 4. Minus 5. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 take away 5 is 8. Nope, sorry, not 8. 7. 7 and 5 is 12. Okay, so 7. And our last one, let's go over here where I have some room. Y equals 3x minus 5. I plug in a 5. 3 times 5 is 15. Minus 5 is 10. So those ordered pairs you're checking 4, 7, 5, 10. So over 2, up 1, we put a dot. Over 3, up 4, put a dot. Over 4, up 7, and over 5, up to 10. Connect them. Oops, sorry. I don't do a very good job connecting them. Okay, and again, it makes a straight line. So we've got a linear equation. Okay, you guys, so that's the end of the lesson, but I just want to talk about a couple things with group work. So as we worked through the lesson today, you probably found that it really wasn't that difficult, right? As long as we can plug numbers into our equation, figure out what they are, and then graphing them to ordered pairs is a piece of cake. So on group work that you will do in just a minute, okay, you will have, okay, two problems that you have to write the equation and 2 that they give it to you. So just make sure you read the directions. Right here, you can see that it says create an equation, okay? So if it asks us to create the equation, right? Then we got to write it, okay? So again, look for a pattern first. If a pattern doesn't work, y equals blank x plus or minus blank. So on this one, you're going to write the equation, fill in the missing, it says, and then graph it. Okay. So same thing on number 2. Use your equation. Okay, if there's not a pattern, y equals blank x plus or minus blank like yesterday. So you'll write the equation, fill in your missing, and graph it. Then number 3, they give you the equation. You just have to plug them in. Now you'll see there's no x's. Just so that everybody's on the same page, let's use just 1, 2, and 3 for your x's. Okay, you'll figure out your y's, get your ordered pair, graph it. Same thing on number 4. Let's use 1, 2, and 3 for our x's. Figure out your y, ordered pair, and graph it. Okay, so when you do group work today, make sure you're working together, helping make sure everybody knows what we're doing, okay, and can work together. And then when you finish, you'll take it up to your sub. She has the answer key. She will check that you have your equation right. She will check your missing number, and she will check your graph for 1 and 2. If you miss one, she's going to send you back and work as a group to figure it out. On questions 3 and 4, she's going to check that you have your x's and y's and your ordered pairs right, and then your graph looks good. Okay, so good luck. Hope it makes sense to you. And then after group work, when everyone's ready, she will hand out your exit ticket. Now, if your group finishes group work, there are IXL problems or IXL up on the board. You can choose any of them, or you can start at the beginning and try to get to 80 and see as many as you can get done until it is time to move on to your exit ticket. So, hope everyone has a great day, and we'll see you guys on Monday.